Welcome to Instant Replay for MLS Matchday 15. I'm your host, Andrew Wiebe, and as always, we're taking a closer look at the most controversial refereeing decisions in Major League Soccer. We got a pair of plays from Montreal LAFC, and Denny Bouanga is heavily involved in both boxes. Let's start in the defensive 18 for LAFC. Montreal on the ball, and this is a really nice touch and cut in tight space by the Polish outside back Bugai. Bouanga is doing his work, well, in the wrong box for him, and he leaves his leg outstretched and, for my eye, makes clear contact. Referee Rubiel Vazquez agrees and points to the spot. Now, the question is, how much contact? And that's the question that Bouanga is asking Vazquez. He's saying, hey, I don't really think I touched him, but I see leg to knee, and I don't think it's a ton. It's not like Bouanga kicks Bugai's legs out, but still, for me, given that contact, penalty is the right call. Just a clumsy goal scorer, not goal stopper challenge in the 18. I would never expect Soren Stoica, the VAR, to get involved on that play, but he might have gotten involved on this play in the 58th minute. This time, Bouanga's doing, well, Bouanga things. He's creating space and driving into the opposing 18. So he's in, and then Bouanga's going down. He's saying because of that little push in the back with the left arm of Campbell. I see that little shove there, but I'm more with Kalen Carr, the color commentator, on this one. For me, Bouanga goes down just a little bit too easy, so I'm okay with Rubiel Vazquez, the referee, saying no penalty, play on. As for Soren Stoica, the VAR, who is definitely going to take a look at this one, I wouldn't call this a clear and obvious error, and so I wouldn't expect Stoica to get involved. However, if it was called a penalty, I also wouldn't expect Stoica to get involved because of that little push. This is truly an in the judgment of the referee moment. It was a busy night for Drew Fisher in that Philadelphia-Miami game. I hope you were watching. The 3-3 draw absolutely delivered. Let's fast forward all the way to the 72nd minute. It's 2-1 Union, and Ty Barabo is on the back post, and he is scoring. Bang, 3-1 Union, cue the Duke. But Inter Miami are saying, hold on here, this is offside in the pink opinion. And if you put me on the spot, remember this goal was good on the field and no flag went up, I would probably say I don't know, let's just throw a number on it, 60-40 that Barabo is offside. I'm basing that on the distance between the mowed line on the penalty spot and the player's feet, namely Barabo and Lujan, the final Inter Miami defender. Look at the distance between the feet of those two. To me, Baribo's just a half step closer to goal. But you've probably already figured out where I stand on video review's role in this play, as well as the call on the field, based on my very waffly 60-40 number. It is not clearly and obviously offside, and I wouldn't expect the VAR Kevin Stott to get involved. All in all, I am good with the goal call on the field here. However, I am quickly going to put my Miami goggles on, and I would point out that the AR is probably a step or two behind the play here, more even with Quinn Sullivan than Barabo. And that might have been a bigger deal in the long run, but this game offered even more controversy. How about that Messi penalty shot in the 91st minute? Luis Suarez was losing his you-know-what, and for me, Drew Fisher did the exact right thing. Play on, keep it moving. This is never a penalty for me. Just good defensive positioning by Dunley Jean-Jacques, who had a great game in my opinion. So let's go to the 92nd minute. This time it's Federico Redondo trying to hold on to the ball against Damiani, the Union forward. And we've got, an orange card alert. I gotta tell you, I don't think I would argue against this being a straight red if it was called that way on the field. Usually in that situation, for the straight red for violent conduct, we'd be looking for a swing, for Redondo to be using his elbow as a weapon rather than a tool to create space. But look, in my opinion, Redondo knows exactly what he's doing here. He sees the oncoming player, he raises his elbow to face height, and crucially for me, he initiates the contact with the point of the elbow, plus leans back to meet Damiani's momentum. I can easily argue, and I think credibly so, that would qualify as excessive force and a deliberate action to the head or face with more than negligible contact. And the fact that it's the point of the elbow, well, that's what's got me thinking it could be red. But the laws say strike, and is this a strike? That goes back to the weapon or tool test, and really what makes it orange. So while I can see red, I can understand why referee Drew Fisher had yellow on the field, and I would never expect Stott to say it's a clear and obvious red card. Miami got the third goal in this game. And there is a play to look at on that particular play. After Telasco Segovia scored, you would have noticed that Kai Wagner was going crazy. He was saying, look, I got fouled in the lead up to this, so let's rewind it back and find where that happened. It was on this blocked cross where Wagner went in, and blocked the cross of Wygant. Now, Wygant goes down and a trailing foot sort of kicks Wagner in the face, and Wagner's saying that's a foul, but for me, it's just not. It's just a coming together of bodies as one player puts in a desperation cross, Wygant, and the other makes a desperation block and sliding tackle and takes out Wygant's feet. So for me, this is just incidental. Play on. Good goal for me by Miami. How about some Sunday night soccer? We had an absolute barn burner in Atlanta between the Five Stripes and FC Cincinnati. First comes just after the 9th minute, a shade after. It's a big time coming together of Nick Hagglund, the Cincy defender, and Emmanuel Latte-Loth, the big attacker for Atlanta. No foul called on the play, which I can understand from Guido Gonzalez's point of view. Hagglund is doing what all good defenders do, impeding and obstructing the path of the attacker to give his teammate more time to play. Latte-Loth, on my first look, lowered a shoulder to my eye to bully through and sent Hagglund to the turf. He would have to be taken off. First of all, we hope Nick Hagglund is okay and recovering well. Cincinnati confirmed that he suffered a broken rib on this play and went to the hospital. To be clear though, we can't and we won't referee on the outcome and injury here. Let's stick to the play, the facts, and do the same check that VAR Greg Dobka did in the moment for violent conduct. My take on this one is that both players are initiating and bracing for contact. It's a coming together. However, in my opinion, Hagglund is not prepared for the level of force that Emmanuel Latte-Loth brings to that collision. That mismatch in force alone certainly would not justify a red card. What could, and what caught my attention, is the way Latte-Loth appears to lead with his elbow and the force delivered with that part of the body. If I'm Dobka, I am trying to determine whether Latte-Loth is cocking and then throwing or swinging his left elbow, namely leading with the point to quote-unquote strike Hagglund. If that is the case, then I think you've got a clear and obvious excessive force and brutality off the ball and violent conduct. Now, if it is more of a charge into Hagglund using the forearm to lead, which would naturally include the elbow contact as well, then I wouldn't be able to say no red card is a clear and obvious error. I understand, I'm gonna draw the ire of Cincy supporters here, but I would not recommend this for review if I was Dobka. The angle I ended up relying on the most to determine elbow action is the one behind the goal. For me, this is more of a case of leading with forearm, to which the elbow is attached of course, than striking Hagglund with the elbow. But this is also instant replay, and I cannot let myself off quite that easy. Forget clear and obvious and the role of the VAR. Andrew, should this be a red card? Since I don't think this is a quote-unquote strike with the elbow by Latte-Loth, it comes down to the level of force. Is it excessive and therefore violent conduct, or is it simply reckless? I'm going to accept my social media abuse, but I would trend toward reckless here rather than excessive. Reckless, by definition, is when a player acts with disregard to the danger to or consequences for an opponent and must be cautioned. For me, Latte-Loth should see yellow in this situation for reckless. Reasonable minds can, of course, disagree with me on this one and say excessive force and a red card. And had the call on the field been violent conduct, I don't think there'd be a case for clear and obvious error to overturn it. One more from this one. Did Brad Guzan foul Valenzuela at the end of first half stoppage time? Call on the field was no, and no review was initiated, but I got this as a foul, folks. I get it. Goalkeepers want to be protected, but you gotta have the flip side to that equation. Valenzuela wins this header. He's up in the air, he's in a vulnerable position, and you can see by his eyes, he sees Guzan coming, and Guzan is late. Guzan gets none of the ball, and Guzan goes through his own defender as well as Valenzuela, impacting his ability to make this play, and in my opinion, fouling him. For me, this is careless, and I don't need to see Guzan punch Valenzuela with that fist just to call the foul. In my opinion, this should have been a penalty. One more game on Sunday, New York City, Chicago. We'll start in the 31st minute. Brian Gutierrez challenging in with O'Neal of New York City, and O'Neal's going down, and I think we all saw that, right? It's pretty obvious. Gutierrez gets him with the elbow. Now, Gutierrez makes a motion to Rosendo Mendoza, the referee, that this is like his natural running motion, but you can clearly see the swing up into the New York City player's chest, then into the face/chin. It's off the ball, and it's not any part of running. For me, given the action with the arm is off the ball, deliberate and non-negligible contact to the face or head is created, it's an easy violent conduct red card decision. How about this one in the 84th minute? It was a penalty call and a red card to Jay Davila of the Fire by Mendoza, and it was recommended for review by VAR Jorge Gonzalez. And I gotta tell you, I'm with Gonzalez here. No foul on the play. Neither player is in possession. Ojeda has taken a long touch and he's trying to recover and lunge for the ball. Jay Davila is also trying to win the ball, and he does win the ball. Here's the touch and then the ball rolls on his foot. That's a little bit unlucky. But for me, similar challenges by both players. And yes, there is contact, but it's more of a coming together in what is a true 50-50 rather than Ojeda having possession and Jay Davila coming through him. So I'm with the VAR. I've got no foul, no penalty, and no red card. All right, that's it for us. If you see something, say something every week. I beg, and I beg with the exact same request. Please, give me the game and the time code. It helps immeasurably when you're trying to watch dozens of games every single week. For my editor, Aldo Medina, and my producer, Rich Hernandez, I'm Andrew Wiebe. We'll see you next time.